and then we are gonna go to Tebogo now. Yes.
Uh, thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
The intention today was just to come to the life and just to learn and listen.
Yeah.
But sometimes some of us, our job, we spend most of the time talking, so we can't come to a platform like this and not engage. And
Yes.
I like how the all of a sudden your life just took a direction today
Exactly.
without even you guiding it. Now
Exactly.
it became about livestock, and although I
Yeah.
can jump into
And
any
catching.
topic, I, yeah. I think this one is one of my favorite. Unlike many
Yes.
others who started by studying and working in the offices, myself, I'm straight up an agriculturist. I've studied animal production. Then from there, I
Yes.
went and studied agricultural extension. I work for a commercial beef value chain company, which also does farmers development. So I'm an agricultural mentor. I work with many farmers, and as well, I'm also a farmer. And unlike
Yes.
me and Yogama, I think we are similar. Our only difference is on the type of breed that we have elected to use. He elected to use one of the craziest breed, which I respect anyone who will take a decision to breed with Brahman.
Yes.
Fortunate for me, I breed with the best breed, which is the Bonsmara from my side. So I think that's where we are. But before I think I start and we engage more, and also I also like what Beg is doing. You know, what we were talking about yesterday, that in this ecosystem of agriculture, there are different businesses that you can do. Big, you can tell
Yes.
he buys and sell. Most he buys as calves and sell as winners. That's the idea I'm getting, which is a very profitable business if you can look at it. Some of us we are middlemen where we sell a productive stock and we get markup in between. We also
Yes.
breed. I think one first thing before we continue, which I want to encourage many black farmers to be specific. Tomorrow I'm going to Northwest. I'm going to a farm a breeding Bonsmara. There's a Bonsmara stud breeder in the Northwest. There are two black Bonsmara stud breeders who are having an auction. It's called Lamuse Bonsmaras, which is the field where many black people they don't play into, which I'm glad that that's the dream of yoga mind to going into start breeding, because that's where you add value in terms of
I
production.
follow them. I follow them. Yo, they've got
Mm.
beautiful cattle. Yo,
Now I'll be there
hi.
tomorrow.
Yo, that's
I'll be
great, brother.
I'll be
And
there
they've got
tomorrow.
beautiful cattle. That Bonsmara. Aye.
Yeah. Now Bonsmara, it's one great breed. But I think now we need to look in terms of those who will be interested in going into cattle production, that there
Yes.
are various most important things, especially those who are going into breeding. And then maybe Becky also, a few questions for Becky, maybe will enlighten us more on what is the type of business that is doing. If you are going to go into breeding, I think there are specific things that you need to be able to look at. And first of all, I always said, and I said it yesterday, is that before you produce, you look at the market, and from the
Yes.
market, you look at what is the market looking. Currently in South Africa, when you are producing in livestock, you are producing for meat. It's your end product is to produce meat. And when you produce meat, you need to look at the type of breed that you are producing as well, and look at the type of a product that the consumer, which is the market, needs. And you'll realize that most of the time, they put emphasis on the fat content, that the type of meat that you produce at the end put on. And you
Yeah.
need to produce cattle that will be able to take to convert the feed into the proper type of meat as well. You also look, there are two different types of breed. You have the late maturing and the early maturing, but I won't go to that because it might be too technical.
Yes.
But the first thing, obviously, you need land. If
Yes.
you want to go into cattle production, you need land. Some of us, I don't have land, but I'm utilizing around 700 hectares because I have a farmer who has got 2,000 hectares, gave me 300 to lease
Yes.
privately. I have another farmer who has got 4,000 hectares. He's an Indian guy. He managed to give me 400 hectares that I can utilize
Yes.
for my livestock. So I can't wait for myself and say I can't wait for government
Yeah.
and say no, I'll wait for a lease from government. In the process, while I'm waiting for a lease, in the process before I could afford to buy my own farm, then I had to make sure that I make means. And
Yes.
at times you don't necessarily, if you've got livestock, for example, you don't need necessarily money to rent land out. You can have an arrangement, for example, with the farmer, and the arrangement might be, okay, I'm gonna put 30 animals in your farm. Out of the 30, if the 30 give birth, uh, yes, I'm from Cernik. I see there's someone who knows me here.
Yeah.
Is it Tebogo from Cernik? Yes, I'm from a company called Cernik. For example, if you have got a farmer, and this farmer, for example, you say, I'm putting 30 animals in your farm. Out of the 30, if they give birth, 10% or 15% of the calves is yours, is the payment for the lease. If, for example, they
Yes.
give you 28, you say 5, it's yours, then I'll remain with 23. That can be an arrangement, and that
Yes.
arrangement will be very much easy to be able to, because then you won't need to have money up front, then you
Yes.
can do that. So the first thing is land. Then the second thing you need, there's one professor who once said that you can never become a livestock farmer if you are not a grass farmer. So before you become a livestock farmer, you must become a grass farmer.
That's
Why?
fine.
Because grass is food. When you are a parent, before you have kids, the first thing you worry about before you worry about pampers and anything is food. Will I be able to
Yes.
feed this baby? Then the rest of the things, then they will follow after. So when you speak, grazing is very important. So you need to have a proper grazing management in place in terms of rotational grazing, or in terms of planted pasture, or in terms of bringing in bales to subsidize the type of grazing that you have in that particular farm. It is
Yes.
extremely important. Then from there, they will say, and I will always tell people that say grass alone is not enough,
Yes.
because grass changes based on seasons. In now, there's rainfall in many areas in South Africa. When people look, the grass is becoming green. But two
Yes.
months back or a month back, the grass was brown. So
Yes.
so 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 every season, grass lacks certain nutrients on it. In winter, a grass now lacks what we call easily digestible carbohydrates, because everything that is a nutrient, it moves from the plant itself, it goes directly to the roots to take care of the roots, because the roots is the core of the plant. So that
Yes.
what the cattle eat, it lacks mostly high, it lacks protein. So you need to have what you call a supplementary feeding program, where you
Yes.
supplement your animals of the deficiency of nutrients that they need at that particular time. Most of the time after calving, you need to give the likes of production leak. They call them different name, but mostly a common name is an energy leak, because you need a high production of uh, milk. Then you need that as well. So
Yes.
from taking care of grazing, then you need to have a proper supplementary feeding, that you supplement the nutrients that you have. Then you must have what you
Sorry.
call a vaccination program, because
Yes.
you need yogama.
Yes, sorry, host. Sorry, Tebza. I just
Okay.
wanted you host. Hey, you see me and Tebogo, okay? I did not get your name. Yes, I'm emotionally live because
No.
Yeah.
Mna, I work with Tebucho, so there are things that are coming into mind, and I'm thinking, hey, dingas libali in some
Mm,
time.
Yes.
Tebucho, just to Lando, very key what he's saying. I'm crossing Lando instead of buying the Brangas pool. I'm crossing my girl with E Angas, a
yes.
commercial Angas pool. Yeah, for the effect that we showed, the marbling and the stuff, but
Yeah.
that's a bit technical, and the weight bone ratio
Yeah.
so that one is technical. It's for Tambi from at a later stage. We will come into it. Just this one
So
that I've always been concerned when I see farmers around your side. There's also a platform, TikTok, with some other farmers, but Northwest and all the areas that you guys are farming at is so different from the Eastern Cape. Itlobo, I am so shocked when I see how much you guys invest on a feed.
Yeah,
As
I think, yeah.
I remember I was with this guy, a sister breeder Prangas, from my area, which is Katkat, doing a presentation around that. And guys from Northwest were like, hey, hey. And we are shocked always when we see you guys, you are spending so much on feed. I think generally because you guys, your felt is sweeter. Us, when you come this side, Upper Good, yes, we do have certain sweet areas, you see, which is another technical aspect when I tell you also, but we'll get into it. Our side is more sour. So even though it depreciates in the winter, but ayipheli njengakuni apho phezulu. So I was wondering why you guys spend so much on feed as
Mm.
opposed to
No,
us in the Eastern Cape.
I think you'll realize, for example, if you look at part of from Pumalanga around MLO and stuff like that, you go to the Free State and you go to the Northwest. We have got variety of areas. We won't take it as an umbrella. We have got areas that are high in rainfall. So high rainfall area, obviously, you'll find that there's mostly because Free State, if you look, the Free State is a grassland. The high rainfall area, you'll find that they've got a lot of grass that grows very high, and the carrying capacity, they also have high carrying capacity compared to other places. Then you look at also other places on the southern part of the Free State, going to the Eastern Cape side. They have got low rainfall area, and those areas they've got proper grazing and stuff like that. So it depends in terms of where. But in terms of calculation, you'll realize when you say we spend on feed, for example, when you spend on leeks you give a cow per day, for example, around 500 gram a day. And when you make the calculation and also the impact of it, remember the impact of the of supplementing nutrients, you will realize that the cost in general are not as much. So there's a higher return even with such cost. But like you've said, most of it are more technical. That if we start being technical, we might lose many people. So we'll just keep it simple. Maybe me and you will have a proper engagement where we can go deeper, or if the platform someday agrees for
Yes,
us
sir.
to go to that direction,
Yes, please.
then we
We
can.
can do that. We can do that
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Then like I was saying, and because we're on feed, then also
Yes.
the other part that it's extremely important for many farmers is that there's one thing that we call a carrying capacity. So a carrying capacity, it's an indication of the amount of land that you are utilizing. How many cattle can it carry per year? For example, there are many people who will tell you that no, the carrying capacity here it's 5. That 5 generally mean one cattle can utilize or eat around 5 hectares of a land per year. So that means if you've got 500 hectares, roughly plus or minus, it can carry roughly around 100. And obviously, when you plant pasture, then it can increase. But if you are not utilizing, you are misusing the farm, it will also decrease because now you are dealing with its natural and proper grazing that it has. So
Yes.
it's very important to be able to understand and make sure that you don't overstock. There are many people who make a mistake of overstocking their farms, that they've got too many animals than the farm can carry, and over time they overgraze their land. And after overgrazing, most of the time when the land is overgrazed, invasive species, they will always come up, and they will take over the farm, and you'll no longer have grazing in a long run, then you have lost your farm. So it's very important to be able to manage that. Then you
Yes.
need to have a vaccination. I always tell people that they say, and it's a saying that say it's cheaper to vaccinate than to treat. If, for example, you say you vaccinate one medication, I'll just make an example: Rift Valley fever, or for example, or multiclostridial diseases. When you vaccinate each cow, you can vaccinate it with 2 meals, and that 2 meal on that particular cow is for the whole year. But if you don't vaccinate, when you have to treat, for example, I'll use the common medication in cattle, you have to use terramycin, for example. When you're utilizing terramycin, you'll realize that terramycin is 1 meal per 10 kg. So if you have got an animal that weighs 500 kg, you need to inject it with 50 mils. And a bottle is 100 mil. So that means with 100 mil, you can only treat 2 animals. Sometimes you need to inject twice. There are some long acting and short acting medication. Long acting you need to inject after 3 days. Then if it's not fine, you inject it again. So that means 100 ml can treat one animal, while with 100 ml of vaccines you can prevent and vaccinate around 50 animals. So you need to be able to vaccinate because it becomes cheaper to vaccinate than to treat. Then you must have what you call a breeding program. Make sure that you have got a breeding program, and you also introduce quality into your program. Because we have got a struggle with many farmers who will tell you that no, these white people at auctions, they'll rob us and stuff like that. And I'm like, I take my calves to the auctions, and at times I go to an auction, I come that my calves have outbeat every calf that was at an auction. And they were white and all this type of people there at an auction. Why? Because I have quality. When you have got quality, you are not a price taker. You create your own prices that you know you deserve.
Yeah.
If today price is 39 rand per kg and my calf are supposed to give me 9,500, if then they bid to 8,500, 8,800, I say I want 9,500 because I know that's what they are willing to pay on that day.
Yeah.
And if they refuse, I say, no, it's fine, I'll take my animals. They're going to buy them. Or we are going to enter into a negotiation where we are going to be able to reach an agreement of a satisfactory price. But if you don't have quality, you'll forever complain, because you must understand at the end of the day, those people as well, they are going to buy so that they can make more money as well. So you
Yeah.
need to have that as well in everything that you do. So there are various things that you need to do, and the last thing which I always speak about is record keeping. You need to be able to know what is happening in your farm. You can't have a farm and there's always an element of surprise on a daily basis. You go, you sell, you say, hey, I sold 10, I thought I have 5, and stuff like that. You need to be able to understand what is happening at your farm, prevent you against many things, to plan, to manage, and also to prevent for staff and your people stealing from you and stuff like that. So if you want to go into cattle production, it's very complex, but it's very simple if you can be able to follow everything properly, which is it's one of the best fields for one to can go into.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, it helps on the record keeping. We've
Yeah.
all got. I buy notebooks at beginning of the year. All of us.
Yeah.
That's how when Putwam you grow into a start, because I want to practice this thing of recording. So
Yes.
my guys record, I records, and we compare notes. So
Mm.
to what is also as a security measure as well.
Yes.
So I can't have 54, and when we count all of us. I can't have 100 sheep here or lambs. Then Yena has 98 or 92. Then which means as land, because when we do count them at a certain time, we all agree on this is how many are here. You see,
Yes.
but you go as far as writing. When did you rotate? As whatever said at the beginning, that it's very important you manage your fields, then everything else you say. When did you
Yes.
rotate? I write when you rotate from this camp to this camp, and then. But there's only most technical. Now I'm only a farmer. I've only started Lento when I began to Lento. I went there and afunda, but I've never studied the school anyway. You see,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
always get the most important part of it. I know is to get as yourself equipped as much as possible. Go to
True.
your
Yes.
farmers. If you are
Yes.
farming Bonsmara, go to your farmers who farm Bonsmara. Go read. Go to people like Debs. Don't think you know it all. Trust me, my brother. Hey,
Mm.
this
Yes.
this thing of farming. Don't think you know it all. Be able to take advice. Yes, you must be independent in what you want to do, but be able to take advice.
Yes.
Mm.
uh, but also speak to the farmers around you. Speak to the farmers around you, more especially abakudala bekhona, so that you can learn. Abafuna ukuncedisa baza kuncedisa. Trust me ke, that's a very closed area, more especially in the Eastern Cape. I think what Debs ingathi kungcono in the Eastern Cape. Yo, our white colleagues very land pious valile. So,
Yeah.
but you will get those who are willing to assist and land
Yes.
and coach and teach you about
Angels.
izinto zihamba njani. Yeah,
Yes.
And the funny part is that the Eastern Cape has got the highest population of cattle, but has got the lowest in terms of the meat output. They're like South Africa, where it has got all the mineral resources, but the jewelry and everything, you don't
Comes
find
from
it
somewhere else.
in yeah. And you'll go to Gauteng. Gauteng has got the lowest population of cattle, but you'll realize that it has got the highest output in terms of meat and stuff like that.
no,
Yeah.
yes,
So those are the things, and for people in the Eastern Cape, those are the type of opportunities that can be attacked in terms
exactly.
of that, and making sure that you go into intensive farming, you try and do trial and error on feedlotting and stuff like that. Although feedlotting is not as easy, but it's an
Never.
indication that yeah. It's all the most difficult part of farming, that one. But those
Exactly.
those are just an indication, and that there are a vast opportunities in the Eastern Cape that can be explored. And when you have such farmers at least that are pushing, then it's very key. It's
Yeah.
very key. And
I
and maybe
think
in this platform,
yeah, just so that you also understand our area. Our area is very vast. It's got Ilali mostly rural.
yeah,
And what
yeah,
you have said in terms of genetic improvement, that is where we are lacking.
true,
Yes, it's got lots, as you have said, very true. But the problem is that, but it's got lots of communal land, but few farming land as opposed to you guys, which is vice versa.
true.
Yeah.
And now the in terms of improving the cattle that is in common age, where
Mhm.
Apple they've got huge numbers, but the problem is that they are overgrazing, and number two, the types of, or the type of land of land, or of product that
Good.
they produce,
Yeah.
which yes, which is the cattle that they produce, is not to the quality that and standard that would be there in terms of your commercial space.